Welcome everyone. This is our first hybrid event of a Living Wage and Income Lab session. So yeah, I have a live audience here in the room and we have an online audience. So yeah, we are very happy. It's the second session this year of the Living Wage and Income Lab. And yeah, we're very happy to have a group of speakers and panelists that join us today to discuss what are the key ingredients to market fair products. So we're going to learn from their organizations' perspectives and experiences. The event is divided in two parts. So we have first a live stream of 45 minutes, and then we have a workshop session with the people in the room, where Kumasi Drinks is going to tell us a little bit. We're going to deep dive into their upcoming campaign, and we're going to just feedback with each other, learn from each other, and get to know each other as well. I am Isa Miralles from Fairfood. I'm going to be the moderator of today's session. I am the Living Wage and Income lead at Fairfood. And Fairfood, for the ones that don't know it, is an organization that works to eradicate poverty in food supply chains. So just easy work, actually. And then, we've been doing this for 20 years. We're almost there. We decided to, first, we were really pointing out the issue of poverty. And then we decided to create innovative solutions that could help actually companies to take steps towards solving the problem and be part of the solution. We have a trace tool, a traceability platform that runs on blockchain. And I invite you to look it up if you want to learn more about it. And so we use this innovative technology in combination with really looking at farmers' livelihoods. That's why we organize these Living Wage and Income Lab sessions, where we really want to get to know each other, everyone in this environment, to create partnerships and to work together towards this mission, because we need everyone in the supply chain to get on board. And also I like to mention that these sessions are also supported by a 5-year program that we do. It's called Reclaim Sustainability, and it's powered by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I invite really the online audience. I cannot see you. I cannot have a feel of who you are, but please say in the chat, say hi, say what company, your name, and feel free to ask questions, comments. I will get some of your questions that you have from the panelists, and we have a Q&A afterwards. So I invite you to interact. And moving on, enough of me. I'm gonna introduce you to the people that's here with me. So we have Linda Klunder. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you.
She's the co-founder and head of impact at Kumasi Drinks, which is a Dutch company creating positive change for cocoa farmers in Ghana with delicious cocoa juice that we're gonna try today. For the ones that have not. we have Remco Kouwenhoven, lead of impact programs at Fairphone. You've been for over 5 years working to improve working conditions, raise workers' voices, and pushing for living wages in the electronic sector. So thanks very much for joining today. Liz Ulje, I think I cannot pronounce your surname. Ulje. Yeah, Ulje. She's the chief branding and marketing at Wakuli. And Wakuli is a specialty coffee company focusing on quality and better pay for farmers by cutting middlemen. And we have Michael Bilde, which is the director of Bionext, the umbrella organization for organic food in the Netherlands. And he knows the organic industry inside out. I would say you've been many years working in this field. And I think now you're also working to get living wages into the organic fields. So I'll be very excited to hear more about that. Welcome all. It is a pleasure to have you all here. And as I said before, we want to discuss a key question that keeps coming recurrently up, and is like, how can a company benefit from marketing products that have sustainability at the center of it? So in other words, how do we communicate the impact of a product? And I think you are all very well positioned to contribute to the discussion. So Linda, I would like to start with you. Kumasi Drinks is introducing cocoa juice in the Netherlands, which is an innovative product that comes from cocoa fruit. So a part of the cocoa fruit that would otherwise be wasted, thrown away. So I can imagine this helps already quite a bit to reduce food waste and to get maybe an extra income for the farmers. So can you elaborate a little bit on the impact that Kumasi Drinks is creating?
Yeah, so our mission is fighting food loss and poverty at the same time. So what we do is that we indeed create soft drinks from the pulp of the cocoa fruit. So when you have the pot, the cocoa pot is around the size of a rugby ball. And within that pot, there are the beans that we know from chocolate, but around these beans, there is the pulp. And during the making of a documentary on the supply chain of Nestle, we were tasting that pulp. And Lars Gierveld, the founder of Kumasi Drinks, was like, oh, this is delicious. Why do we not know it? Or why do we not have products made from this pulp? And one of the main reasons is that the chocolate industry has mainly been focused on consumer innovations, getting more customers buying chocolate, but not necessarily on how technology and innovations can help farmers as well. And unfortunately for farmers with only very small plots of land, it's not possible to invest even what we might see as a small amount of around 1,000 euros, 1,500 euros to start producing some juice themselves. So we thought, okay, opportunity. What are we going to do with it? Let's try to make soft drinks. We've now partnered up with several partners to actually do so as well. One of those partners is Koa. They have a factory in Ghana, and they're really important for us for the production processes. And what we do as Kumasi is selling the juice and opening the market for cocoa juice. And it's our journey now. We've launched our drinks in January 2021. So in the middle of a pandemic, which is quite a challenge, but also really, really cool because we were all sort of in a different mindset. What can we do? How can we change our consumer behavior? So we might also have a bit of the right timing for launching our products. But one of our biggest marketing challenges is how much do we have to tell about what we do? Because we do way more than just buying.
Yeah, because you're talking about a product that is totally new. Like we don't know, I don't know, like I hear cocoa and I think, oh, it tastes of chocolate.
Yeah, they think we're selling chocolate milk often.
Yeah. So you have a very innovative product that is new, and on top of that, the main core of it is impact and benefits for farmers. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that journey of sharing the story?
Yeah, that is really challenging because we have to, but we think there are so many parts of our story that are interesting. But what we are currently seeing is that consumers especially find the idea that there is a drink from cocoa. They find that very interesting. And that's one of the main reasons for purchasing the product, due to the fact that it's really surprising. So as a consumer, you want to be surprised, you want to try something new, you want to have an experience. So that seems to be the main reason now for trying Kumasi. But for us, what we're trying to look at is when do we start talking about maybe the food loss that we work on, and when are we starting to talk about the income question? That is one of the main reasons why we started Kumasi Drinks, is because we want to fight poverty. And we think it doesn't make sense. There's such delicious byproducts in a supply chain that's not utilized. But when you're talking with a consumer or customer, they do find this interesting, but we're not sure yet to what extent that also leads to a purchase. And that is, I think, for us, a very difficult and interesting question. I'm also really curious how you're experiencing that. But we're really trying to better understand to what extent do you say you're interested in sustainability, but do you actually also act up on it when you're standing in Albert Heijn? Really
interesting, and I think that's why, I think we're doing the workshop where you're going to explain a little bit of your campaign, because of course you're a very new company. And I can also imagine that, I don't know, like what is the consumer, it's like, oh, what is this bottle, and then probably ask like bright colors and it's attractive, no? And then how you add, how our brains work, it's quite a thing, no, to think about. But yeah, I think it's nice to have, also Remco here. Fairphone has been, for how long existing?
Since 2013.
Since 2013.
Almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years. And then you are on a company that, at the start, at the core of it, you wanted to change how the electronic industry was working.
Yeah.
But yeah, the electronic industry is highly competitive. Yeah, it's in the spotlight for a lot of oppressing issues in big factories all over the world. So yeah, I'm really interested if you could explain first of all how, yeah, tell us so what fair work practices are behind the smartphones that Fairphone is producing. So yeah, what type of things are you looking at improving?
Sure. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Isa. So for those of you who don't know Fairphone, it's a smartphone company. And the reason, the origin story is indeed there was actually a documentary going into cobalt mines back in 2010 and raising awareness for poor working conditions, child labor, unsafe working conditions, etc. And then at that point, people were saying, "Hey, I would like to purchase a more ethical choice, but which brand should I buy?" And there was no clear no clear brands who would have a more sustainable, more responsibly sourced cobalt or other sustainable credibility claims. So that's led to the foundation of Fairphone. And we actually have a lot of different things that we can claim when it comes to sustainability. So we look at where do the materials come from. So we have 14 materials we focus on improving the supply chains, either better mined or responsibly recycled. We look at living wage and income. So Fairphone is the first company in electronics to support a supplier with living wage since 2019. And we're also starting with living income support for artisanal miners. We work on worker voice and representation, but also it's the only modular phone that you can easily repair. It's e-waste neutral. It's there's a whole list that we could communicate. So
yeah,
you know and well, okay, we have one extra perk. Let's say it has already in the brand name. It says Fairphone, which is actually a false claim because it's not 100% fair. We always say, but it's not 100% fair.
fair, no?
Yeah,
It's
because it's not
always,
100%
yeah.
ethical yet. We don't
Yeah.
want to claim that, but the brand name does. So it's actually already false. But a fairer phone doesn't sound so nice. So that's sexy. But anyway, when we're talking about how do we position ourselves, there's a couple of things that we take into account, and that's indeed reasons why consumers buy our products. So we do some surveys and researches, and usually the repairability is the number one reason why people are very interested in Fairphone from an impact perspective. And second and third place, and they switch sometimes, is better working conditions and the fair materials. So integrating more responsibly sourced materials that are being mined under better conditions, that are traceable with safer working conditions, etc. So that also kind of determines a little bit our communication, how we market it.
Is there some communication specifically for the working conditions?
Yeah. So what we do is we have a bit of a layered approach, because we know different consumers have different needs of information. Let's say, so we have the first super high level, and that's the 4 bullet points you will find on a web shop, and they're extremely high level. So they would say something like has fair trade gold and other fair materials. Doesn't go into depth why, what that means, whatever. And it says supports better working conditions and living wage. And that's just it. It doesn't go into further depth than that. Then there's a slightly more, for example, point of sales communication in shops that actually says $1.99 of your purchasing goes to factory workers for living wage.
Okay.
So there's already a bit more specific. The list gets a little bit longer. It gets a little bit more specific. And the reason why we communicate that is one of the most asked questions that we get when it comes to working conditions over all these years is how much of the money goes to workers.
Okay.
So that's the reason why we just bluntly say, okay, this much of the phone goes to workers.
Okay. Well, that's interesting that the consumer likes to have exactly like, okay, you say you contribute to the workers' livelihoods, but
yeah,
how
and
much,
before
no?
that also.
Yeah.
So before we had that explicit number, we also got these questions when we were talking.
Yeah.
Hey, we're improving, and then the critical consumers start asking this question. Okay, but how much exactly then goes to workers for their wage or for their income? So that's one of the reasons why we start communicating that. And then if you want to know more, actually you need to go onto our website. So on our website, there's pages that describe it still semi-high level, but provide a bit more in-depth. And if you really want to go deeper, and some do, then you go into reports or long blog posts or these kind of things where we go really in-depth. Okay, what does it mean? How did we get fair trade goals into our supply chain? How did we solve the traceability part of it? How did we integrate or how did we enable living wages with our supplier? Blah, 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 blah. It goes into very deep detail. And that's also important because when you make these claims, you need to make sure that there are that there's credible information available in some place that really backs up those claims. So we are quite conscious to make sure that whenever we claim something as a simple headliner or a semi-simple headliner, that there's an in-depth story around it explaining the details. And that's, you know, mainly the very critical dark green conscious consumer or rating companies or these kind of stakeholders that go into that level of information. So the average consumer will probably not. But there's different, let's say information sources available for different needs. So that's how we try to layer it a bit. But it's still a continuous search for, okay, what claims should we put up front in the most highlighted, simple way to all consumers, and what should we not focus on?
But then
so it's tricky.
I can imagine. But
it changes over time also.
But well, I think there is quite some learnings already there, right? Like to focus in this layered communication, no, starting with a very simple message. I have a Fairphone, changes in your hands. I find it very cool that it says that, and and then that I can actually translate that, by going into the website and what it means in a bit more depth. And then also, I think you mentioned also how to translate maybe a complex topic, make it really relatable for a consumer, no? Like, so what you say with this precise number of this much goes to the consumer, or so to really also translate these working conditions, or like all these big topics to something that you can put maybe one bullet point and you can make someone understand the impact.
And we're still very much searching for that also, especially when it comes to the impacts that we're now supporting for 3 years, a supplier with a living wage bonus. So paying our share of the financial responsibility for the wages being at a living wage level. But translating that impact is quite challenging still. So for example, for transparency reasons, we say, the average worker got $500 US. But that doesn't really mean anything to most people. When you start translating that into more tangible things, such as, hey, that's actually 1 to 3 months extra salary for someone who's struggling to pay their bills, then all of a sudden you see, people clicking in their minds like, oh, okay, that really does sound impactful. I can understand that. And now we're, for example, we're saying $1.9 US. We're going forward, we're going to communicate that as, it costs less than a cup of coffee, less than a cup of coffee to make sure that smartphone workers get a living wage. So just trying to make things tangible in the minds and reality of consumers here. And then having the real super in-depth information also available in some other place.
Okay, thanks very much. I think that's very clear and insightful. And with a cup of coffee, we can move to Liz. You're the chief branding and marketing at Wakuli, again, which you are selling a specialty coffee in actually a quite a unique way. We were talking the other day, and then you mentioned the word replenishment model, which she's going to explain in a sec. And you also deliver the coffee directly into the mailboxes of the consumers. So there is a lot of more interactivity in your communication to consumers, right? You buy a smartphone, hopefully once every many years, but you buy coffee, I buy coffee every few weeks. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
Maybe briefly on Wakuli. For everyone who doesn't know, we are 3.5 years in the Netherlands, founded in Amsterdam. Wakuli means farmer. It comes from Wakulima, it's Swahili. It isn't that clear as Fairphone, but it is in everything we do. It is founded to lift coffee farmers out of poverty. And by doing that, we want to switch consumer behavior towards specialty coffee, which is now mainly, it's getting more and more normal out of home, more in cafes, but less at home. So where in the US, for example, already 50% of the value is specialty coffee. In the Netherlands, this is less than 5%. And why do we want to change consumer behavior to specialty coffee? Because that makes the price the coffee farmer gets for their coffee less arbitrary. So therefore, they get more grip on their own payments, because a lot of coffee farmers are depending on their coffee income, and that is what we do. Mm-hmm. So maybe to talk a bit about how we focus on impact. We think, what I was already saying, changing demands towards specialty coffee. So we focus quite a bit on the product. That means that we try to make specialty coffee, which is very expensive, which people talk quite difficult about. A lot of people don't even know the name specialty coffee. And where can you buy it? Like around the corner with some, I don't know, maybe cities in the Netherlands, but not everywhere. So we make it accessible by bringing it to your house. We make it affordable by being over 50% more affordable than other specialty coffee brands. And we try to talk not snobbish about coffee, but just in regular. So this is what we do. Impact comes in everything we do. So product is central, but we always combine it with the impact story, because it is essential. It's where we find it, why we are founded. Mm-hmm. And a lot of coffee in the Netherlands is already bought based on ethically labels or other things. So people are quite used to it. They're searching for it. So we want to guarantee that we're into this as well. And we don't use the labels because, for several reasons, but we tell a lot about stories. And I think indeed,
labels as in certification labels?
Sorry, yeah. Okay. And I think already mentioned, we have quite a few touch points with the customer. So because we are an online business, we have advertisement, which is the first one. Then people go into our shop, which is online. But then, of course, order confirmation. We have a moment with packaging sending out, so we can communicate on the packaging with the cards combining with that. And a lot of people are saying subscribe on our email flow, so that means that you have even more room to talk about the impact. So and we combine it. We always say product is usually, and we learn that also in advertisement, of course, within Facebook, you get a lot of information what works and what doesn't work in your messaging. So we see product works, and a good coffee is a reason to buy, and impact we see as a reason to stay. So and we qualify that by every email you get a chance to respond on the email, and we get that directly in. So I don't know if you're using Slack, but it's connected with our Slack channel, so we see people reacting on emails we send out. Impact emails score really good. And we really feel that that's a reason for people to stay connected with us. And every time they get a new coffee in, we can share a new story on impact, and that keeps people enthusiastic, I think, on both product and impact.
Okay, so let's say entry point more on quality and the flavor of the product, and you're really getting something special, and then impact really as a feel-good value to stay. Okay, and you mentioned emails. Is most of your communication marketing online and via email or other channels, or?
So email is on existing customers, so therefore you get more easiness to communicate, right? So because if you want to attract a customer, it should be like one spot on headline, which is like a short sentence which catches the eye, right? Yeah. And then later on with email, you get more chance, and we all know impact. You need some extra words for that, and email is pretty good on that. Of course, by email, we also have the layer to have, of course, buttons to say, read more about this origin, read more about this cooperative, and impact report, etc.
Yeah. Okay, and also, I mean, I buy Wakuli too, not that I want to make propaganda, but I also receive it in my co-working space. Do you also do, like, because, you know, you get a physical product, right? So I guess you also have chances to communicate even in a non-online way with the consumer. Is there something you do there, or?
Yeah, so we give a card with every coffee you get, and the card mention, of course, on the product, because we keep communicating on a product, what kind of flavor notes can you detect within the coffee, but always about the farmer group, which we are connected to. So Wakuli is now connected to 3,500 farmers.
Okay.
So we always try to tell the story of the farmer group, which is behind the coffee.
Nice. Great, thanks so much. And yeah, Michael, I want to pass on to you to make sure, we have introduced everyone to our audience. Michael, you are, let's say, a little bit different here. You're not in an organization, in a company at the moment, although you've been for many years in organic food company. But now you're the director of Bionext, which you are, if I understood correctly, trying to facilitate the transition to an organic food future in the Netherlands. But I think what's interesting, or what you could also bring to this discussion, is that, you know, like, you are working in the organic sector, which is a sector based on sustainability characteristics. So maybe I would like to first ask you if you could share, are there some relevant strategies that the organic sector has used to educate consumers about the benefits of organic food that we could think of?
Yeah, wow. It's a big question. I think I mean, most people know organic, and when we realize that it's all about, you know, avoiding chemical pesticides and artificial fertilizers and giving room for animals and planting our products in the soil. But I think the most important thing is that there are 4 principles behind organic, which are, it's easy, CHEF, C-H-E-F, care, health, ecology, and fairness. That's particularly why I'm excited to be here today, because I think that 4th principle of fairness is important. When it comes to communicating about organic, it's at least that what I learned in the period that I worked at EOSTA for 30 years, also on a lot of beautiful living wage project, is that communication is not just about the message you want to send out, it's getting the message that people who it's intended for, to make them receive it. So it's very important to understand what are the concerns of the people to whom you're communicating, and to address particularly those concerns, instead of just thinking, okay, I would like to send this message across, because then it hits, it lands. So in that sense, when we look at the debate, when you look at consumer, there's an eco reason why people buy stuff, that for their own benefits, and there's the, you know, so that's the ego reason and the eco reason. So the ego is about health, your own health, about taste, and the eco reason is about climate, biodiversity loss, soil, water, and all the huge challenges that we have. And then there's this third party, which is also very important, which I'm also confronted with more in my new job, is what's happening in the political environment, in the European environment here in The Hague. And that are things like now nitrogen, in Dutch the word stikstof. So, you know, we need to address why organic is part of the solution on that aspect, on the big climate issues. On all so our communication always, we adapt that. Like, maybe you could compare it to a big, huge wave. When there's a lot of energy, we take that wave and we surf it, instead of that we try and create our own wave, because we're too small compared to the large conventional agriculture to create those waves. So we take each wave, because on everything we have a good story, and that's a good thing. So.
And I think, I don't know if it's a personal feeling, but also, like, as an organic consumer, I really feel, you know, I feel good when I buy organic food, you know, like, it really touches some of my values, you know, the same when I buy a product that, you know, maybe it's not perfect, it's not, you know, totally fair or so, but I feel I'm contributing to something. So I feel like, I don't know if you have that feeling too, but I feel like the organic movement has created, you know, a link with a type of values that people has. Is that?
Yeah, and I think that's correct, and that's the reason why I joined the organic movement 16 years ago, because I feel very much at home here. But again, when a person buys an organic product, they also expect the social side. to be in order. Whereas in the organic regulations, it doesn't talk about
No.
the social side, and therefore it's a huge responsibility for anyone involved in organics, at least have a plan. What is our social story? And we need to be far beyond what's happening on the conventional agriculture, because people are paying more for an organic product, and they want all the boxes to be ticked. They don't just want a few boxes. So this is why it's so hugely important that we are intrinsically motivated, but also we understand that this is what the end consumer expects is living wage, living income, and all these aspects. So that's why I'm excited, and thank you for the invitation to join the discussion. Because for me also very interesting.
And yeah, I think now you're touching into that, and I think that's really interesting. So how do you, what are the steps being taken now in the organic movement toward living wages or living incomes? Are there any, or in the social side, or?
Well, I think the fact that we have it as one of our core values, fairness. So generally speaking, the income of organic farmers and people working in the organic supply chain is better than a conventional farmer, which is important. But it's, you know, working at Aosta, we did the whole scanning, particularly of avocado and mango growers, and we found out that basically, you know, we're not scoring. I mean, scoring better than conventional, but that's not enough. You need people who buy an organic mango expect that everybody in the supply chain has a living income. And so, and even if you're not there yet, then at least be honest and transparent about that you're working on it, and that you've got your focus in a 5-year or 10-year plan by which time you want to get that fixed. So just being transparent about what you want to do is already enough. And this transparency I want to bring to the organic movement here in Holland, because here in Holland we have a lot of importers. So Holland is a big trading country. So we have Rotterdam, the harbor, lots of stuff coming in from South America, from Africa, and I want to motivate all the people who are a member of the organic community here in Holland to really put living wage and living income at the top of their agenda when it comes to social sustainability. So that's what we're working on.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, I think that actually touches, you know, like you read a lot of times research which is suggesting, you know, that we as consumers feel overwhelmed about the amount of impact narratives that are out there. You know, it's like, indeed, organic, is it including social, or is fair trade into environmental things, or like what is this product is totally fair? So yeah, I don't know, is there any of you in your organizations having a strategy also on how to, you know, I think you mentioned like transparency as a way to go, you know, to try to maybe make consumers less confused, or have an easier choice? Is that something that you are working on?
Where to start?
Of course. I mean, you're constantly looking at how can we communicate this in simple ways, in tangible ways, etc. And for example, one of the choices is not always the choice that we would maybe want to choose, but the one that resonates best with the consumer, as Mike also mentioned. So, for example, with Fairphone, we always have in one of our headlines, it says Fair Trade Gold, because Fair Trade is such a strong brand. People know what that means. Whereas we have other gold programs which are far more exciting, where they don't have a great label, but we work on system change, eradicating child labor, and providing alternative livelihoods, which is actually a lot more exciting to talk about, which is really an in-transition solution for all those miners that are stuck at the bottom and can't meet fair trade requirements yet, but need a transition towards that. And that's the innovation that we're working on, which is much more exciting to talk about. But the fair trade gold is much more recognizable for consumers. So that's the one that keeps being sent out on the headliner, and the other one is sent out every now and then as a more in-depth insight.
I find this very challenging as well, because what I try to do within Kumasi, like as when focusing on impact, is do more a community-based approach. So when you would look at a supply chain in the traditional way, you work with a farmer and you buy a certain commodity of that farmer, which becomes a product. So in the case of cocoa, that would be, you buy often of a mill farmer, you buy cocoa, which will be a chocolate bar. So we want to buy bulk, which is already non-traditional, and then preferably also including women and the entire household, and trying to focus on starting alternative income generation activities. So other activities with that income they're earning from the extra income from the bulk. But that's quite a long, difficult story if you're focusing on that whole communal aspect. But that is really going to change something within a commodity chain.
Yeah.
And if we would only say, which is preferred by the consumer, which I also understand, but if we would only focus on this is the number of pulp that we bought in kilos, this is what we've paid, then I also feel that we're lacking maybe the systems type of message that we also should put out there. Otherwise, other commodities are not going to change. But I'm sure that there are different layers in which we can work, just as Fairphone and Wakuli is doing, on how you can still keep consumers enthusiastic, but at the same time do not lose that system change you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And that's, I feel that is a real struggle, because I get excited when we can talk about systems change.
Yeah.
And if we just focus on the numbers, we work with around 150 to 200 farmers now.
Mhm.
That's not that impressive sometimes for customers, but we're really proud of that because we have this broader focus.
Yeah, challenges. And I think I also hear in both of these, like a bit like, I think we're also working in change that it is more like a journey, right? It doesn't happen overnight, right? Like now we're not talking about it, but how are you supporting your living wage, workers? I guess there is quite a lot behind that, right? And then indeed, that as a consumer is like, oh, it's not a living wage already. I think that's maybe also that journey that you're into. It's also how do you transmit that to consumers?
And I think that's also sometimes the pressure from the more conscious consumer, which is great. But they are also more, when you say I'm a sustainable product, it's like, okay, everything's good then.
Mm-hmm.
So then I can't find any negative about your product then. And that's sometimes a challenge.
How I see it is that when you say you're not there yet, you're being very authentic and transparent about that, and people understand because nobody's perfect. And if you say that, but you say the things that you're doing well, you communicate about that, then that's much more believable. The good stuff that you tell, if you do it in combination of where we still have homework. So just being honest and transparent about what you're tackling is, I think, better than just saying, I'm sustainable, trust me, because people don't trust you.
But only in combination with the plan.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
not
Have a
like,
plan.
there's
Say
so
we're not
many
there yet.
organizations who say, well, we're not there yet. And then they use that we're doing our best, but we're not there yet in their marketing. Like, okay, but how are you going to get there?
I agree. You need a clear plan and a goal and etc. Where you go. And help us achieve that goal. It's also so.
I think this is a great conversation, and also it touches very well with a question that we have from our online audience. So we have Karim from Solidaridad, and she's asking in this, tell your transparent story that you're not there yet. She's asking, how do you, Remco, how do you verify whether those $1.99 really reaches the workers? And she can imagine that this is a question also for consumers. So how do I trust you, or how do I know that this is happening?
Sure. So the answer is also there is information available where we describe how we do that, but it's in the deep layers. So it's only if you really dig deeper on our website. But the short answer is it's a second party verification, meaning Fairphone does the verification on site. So we have we perform random random selection
checks,
verification of whether people we have expected to receive amount X as additional living wage bonus actually receive that through salary slips or bank transfers. We have at some point started calling factory workers who weren't even working at that factory anymore, but still got that bonus through a labor agency because we had heard maybe there might be some deductions from it. So we even started verifying it directly with workers who work through labor agencies.
Okay.
But it's second party verification. Okay. And the reason for that is we haven't found a third party auditor that understood our ask properly in China. And they all got confused.
Okay.
When you ask for a standard compliance audit, it's fine, but most of them, when you start asking, can you also verify whether an additional bonus system is actually functioning as you expect? No. And there's an additional element that we have built in, and that is, let's say, their own grievance channel. So there's an important aspect for communication to workers about when the bonus is getting paid out, why, and what the height is when the bonus actually gets paid out. So that information is available, and there's a grievance channel, so they know how to reach out. We have even set up a additional grievance channel where we are also part of, so we also get copies of any messages that come in. None ever came in. But we do know of cases where workers went just to the HR department and said, hey, I think something went wrong, I didn't get it, or I think I should have gotten it, and then it was corrected.
Okay, so quite some mechanisms behind
yeah, but second party.
any, okay, okay.
So far.
Thanks. Yeah, I see we have 4 minutes before the live stream ends. I don't know if there is any question from the live audience here. Yeah.
Perhaps, yes. My name is Madeleine Los. I work for Invest International.
Would you like to maybe come closer to the microphone? Because otherwise I'll have to rephrase, and even the time I think might be, no. Yes. Yeah.
I hope it's okay like this. So my question is about the $1.99 cents. That's an absolute figure. And I guess that if I, as a consumer, I would like to know how much is that in value chain, across the entire value chain, because that does add kind of, real value to it. So do you have an idea how much that is? Because we all know that retailers have the biggest chunk of that big pie. We talk about like, and upstream it gets smaller and smaller. So I'm just curious to know how do you, because if you monitor that and the value for workers is growing rather than knowing the absolute figure.
So the absolute figure is based on, in this case, final assembly. So it's direct suppliers that we work with so far, where we pay a product price too. So we have the contract, we pay a product price, and we calculated what should be the product price if it's inclusive of living wages. We are scaling further in the supply chain, but we haven't done the full analysis of what it would cost if all workers at all stages, at all tiers of the supply chain would earn a living wage or income. Partly because we don't have 100% visibility of the full supply chain. So it is a bit of a guess. But we do feel we can make an informed guess. But we need to work that out still. It was on my wish list, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. This is just for that little part of the supply chain. But it's a labor-intensive part and one that we can directly influence.
We'll keep this conversation just offline in a second, and I think maybe just to I have to close off, but maybe I want to give you the floor, Liz. I don't know if you have like maybe a message. I think we are very honest, which is great. We heard a lot of challenges, but maybe just to end up with a positive note. I don't know if you have like some tip or something like how can we keep get these traditional supply chains to get into the boat of sustainability. Is there something, I don't know, from your angle on the specialty coffee, like the work you're doing, is there something that we can, like it sounds like it's challenging, but can we invite non-traditional players to join into sustainability? What would be, I mean, you don't have to answer if I'm putting you in the spotlight.
No. Yeah, I think the motivation apart from two sides, I think by sharing the stories and by getting we just mentioned, and we want to share the stories, but we get really good feedback from customers who hear our stories directly. That motivates the team, that motivates everyone. And on the other hand, we have really good contact with the farmers. We invited, I think last month, a farmer to our office. Nice. Customers could join. That also gives a lot of good feelings if you see the impact you're making. You hear the story, first of all, from the farmer, but you also hear the customer being really inspired by what they heard. So I think that I hope that should motivate more and more traditional artists.
Thanks so much. I'm very happy to end up with a positive note. Otherwise, but we're gonna continue offline. Thank you very much to all the audience online for joining in. And yeah, we see you in the next lab session this year. We have 2 more, and we'll be happy to have you again. Thanks so much.